too, but no, the notes, you can do the notes. I can't grade the notes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this is crazy, but this is what's going on right now. We're all in it together. So
Really,
you're welcome, James. That's what I'm talking about. High five to you.
Yes. Listen, we're having fun. We're
right,
yeah.
Oh, honey. Yeah. Hey, Kai.
Oh.
Yeah.
We are squad deep in here. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's right, Emma.
So we're going to keep providing this resource for all of you. I think it's really cool if you guys stick around, even though we're in limbo in terms of all of these different things. I see that we have a lot of hands. So
People giving me high fives.
Yes.
You got a test today. Siani, where you got a test?
Oh, Lord. So we don't, guys, we don't have any information about when the grading period will. We are waiting. We are in the dark.
Geometry.
Yikes. I would say reach out to your geometry teacher and ask them about. I'm recording now, by the way, too. So
yeah.
Oh, that was a high five James said.
Yeah, I gave him a high five.
Oh, that's so cute. I missed that full exchange. So if you guys will rock out with us, we will continue. We will keep you all updated if things need to change. We'll let you know. But we did just need to tell you that in terms of grading, we don't really know. So yeah. Okay, does everybody cool? Everybody cool with that? So you don't need to be here, but if you want to be here, we're glad that you're here. We hope that you will continue to be here.
Yeah, there's no pressure. Now you're just learning, you're just having fun and learning new information.
Absolutely, no pressure at all. So we want to, so let's get started.
Huh? I'm saying hi to Alexi and Drew.
Oh, there's more coming in. I'm like, oh, I'm stuck at Drew. Oh, wow, I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, North Carolina, hey.
Wow. All right.
Getting information.
On worldwide.
Oh, yay. We're out of school for 8 weeks, you guys. If that it may be a thing. But again, we don't know. So we will just wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait. Don't stress out though. I would say, because I'm not leaving. That's right, Jalen. All right now. Franklin. Oh, Franklin. Hey. When'd you sign in?
School will not be extended, Siani.
No. Exactly. Oh, yes. He said I signed in today. It's a national emergency, right? Absolutely. Okay, so all right. So yesterday I realized after looking at the board that we never talked about 1619 and
or the abolitionist movement.
And that's what expectation various are supposed to be. Emma, we cannot speak to what your teacher should be doing.
I'm going to turn my voice off.
Okay. I would say just reach out to your teacher. Yeah. So I wanted to go over a few things with you all, and there were a few things that we missed. And then this will take us back up to where we were. I know we're like bouncing around, but 1619 is really important for U.S. When we're talking about slavery. So can anybody, show of hands, does anybody know why 1619 is even important right now? Go ahead, James.
I believe that was the year that the first African American slaves were transported to like the American continent. Maybe in the Caribbean it was earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Not African American, but definitely African. Yes, and Miss Williams got that in there for you guys. Yes, African people. But you're right. So this is the first time they were brought to English speaking colonies in mainland United States. And I won't go further. Yes, Irma, they went to Jamestown. Someone else had their hand up. Wait a minute, let me make sure. Alex had his hand up. Alex, do you want to share?
Yeah, I was just gonna say there was like 20 slaves that came from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like read something about like the ship being like taken by pirates and then brought to America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was true.
Yes, absolutely true. Good job, Lex. And again, we're going to say enslaved peoples. But yeah, so 1619 is the first time that African people are brought to U.S. Okay, and so when we are thinking about slavery, I also think it's important to understand that African people were actually in the U.S. before English colonies even started. We know for a fact that a lot of African people came to the mainland, what is currently known as mainland U.S., via the Spanish. And some of them were enslaved. Some of them actually were not enslaved. And so it's important to understand that fact, because a lot of times with everything that went on with the 1619 Project by the New York Times, everyone, what's the 16. And are you talking about the decision we talked about where slavery became codified in class? Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a second. We'll get to the House of Burgess. Let me make sure I put that up there so we don't forget. Okay. So all right. So when we're talking about the 1619, it's important that you guys understand that Africans were here in the U.S. before English colonies were even founded. They came with the Spanish. Some actually were explorers. Some were not enslaved. Some were enslaved. And some actually came to the U.S. as enslaved and then like rebelled against their masters, their captors, and became free. So also resistance has been a large part of American history before there was an America to speak of. So that's also important. There was, when these people first came, I think it was James. James is absolutely right. They were actually on a boat coming from Africa. The boat was taken over, and they were these 20-something odd people were brought to Jamestown, Virginia. And when they came, they were not necessarily considered enslaved. Yes, Rukaya. Yes. I was just about to say that. She beat me to it. So they were not enslaved. They were technically considered indentured servants. So show of hands, who can tell me what an indentured servant is? Let's see those hands go up. Okay, Colin, it looks like Colin. I think Colin was first. So, Colin, you can unmute.
Yeah, an indentured servant is someone traveling to another country and sort of paying off their debts of like traveling over and like living there through work and labor.
Yeah, and a lot of English actually came over as indentured servants, and a lot of Europeans came over to the U.S. as indentured servants. And there's some a little bit more we want to add to that. So, Rose, do you have something you wanted to add? I see that you were next with your hand up. You can unmute. Okay. Maybe, oh, okay, Rose said no, it's fine. All right, so let's skip down to Irma.
To add on with indentured servants, they also some of them would like sell themselves in order to make money back.
Yes. So they would sell them. Well, what do you mean by make money back? Let's clarify.
Oh.
What do you mean make money back?
As in like maybe after they they can like, or they pay off their debt, they can like earn a little bit of money back.
Okay, so yeah, they were trying to. Well, we got a lot of hands. Okay, wait a minute. So so indentured servant, you have to pay off the debt that typically you would incur from someone bringing you to the country and allowing you to work for them. So we got Colin, we got Rose, we got Irma. Olivia, you had your hand up. Do you still want to go?
How do you raise your hand?
Hi. Colin pretty much said everything I was gonna say, but usually indentured servitude, like it wasn't always very even, and people were then forced for longer than they were supposed to, and it was kind of like a mess at the same time. So yeah.
Okay. And Olivia, you had your hand up. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I just did Olivia. Tiffany. And then after Tiffany, Rukaya. Was born. Yeah, Liv. Yes. Oh, Tiff. Yes. Benjamin Franklin. I believe he was like an indentured servant to his brother. Love your republic. Okay. Rukaya, did you want to unmute yourself?
Weren't indentured servants had to came to the Americas by having to saying they'll work for you and they'll use them as work, and also like the House of Burgess were like the amount of people working on there, men, women, African Americans, you got that much land, I think. Or am I mistaken?
Can you clarify how that last part?
Didn't some people get land if they had a big family or had like indentured servants working on that land?
Oh, did they get more like a government subsidy? Like, were they allowed to did they get more land based on the number of people they had? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I'm not too sure if that was the case. I think obviously if you're coming to America, you actually have a lot of money, or you're coming from a family that's well off. So I would imagine that anybody coming to the new world, quote, 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 would actually have the money to purchase the land. And then once they purchase that land, they need workers to be able to fill it up. So a lot of the Europeans that were coming over would sell themselves because they did not have the money to travel over to the US or to start a business or to be able to find work. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. All right. So you guys covered basically all the basics for indentured servants. So I know it might be like weird because I said, all right, so the Africans that came over on, that were brought human trafficked on the ship, they became indentured servants. So essentially what happens is they were kind of enslaved because they didn't have a choice. So like when the boat docked in Virginia, when they didn't have a choice to say, oh, I want to be an indentured servant. They actually, some of them were like traded by other people for food. So in that sense, they were kind of enslaved, but they were able to work off the debt that they incurred by other people trading them for food. And they did become free. So essentially, a lot of the first Africans in Jamestown Colony experienced some sort of freedom. All right, so this doesn't really change in Virginia until the House of Burgess in 1662. So does anybody want to tell me what the decision was in 1662 that changed everything? Mame, unmute yourself, girl. Mame?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we gotcha.
Oh, okay. The House of Burgess was when like they decided where like a if a black woman were to have like kids and that black woman was a slave, that child would have to become a slave too, immediately. And even if the father was a free man or even a white man, that child would still have to be a slave. I mean, that child would still have to be enslaved.
Whoops. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So essentially what you're going to have in 1662, the House of Burgess is going to, Jalen said period poo. I can't with you guys. Oh, I see hands. Does anybody want to add on to that? James, okay. Go ahead, unmute yourself, James.
And the reason that this mattered later down the line was that you could have like a reproducing sustainable population of slaves even if you didn't have any more importation, and especially because conditions were better, relatively better, in the United States to start with.
Absolutely.
Slavery could continue even if the slave trade got banned later down the line, which is exactly what happens.
Yes. Excellent, excellent job. What developed in the US is known as chattel slavery. And essentially what happens is because the slave trade is banned, you still need people to work your land or to work your plantation. So essentially what they are going to do then is literally start to breed people as if they were animals. And this is known as chattel slavery. So it's really important that we understand that slavery evolves. It doesn't just start off as chattel slavery in America. It ends up evolving into that as a result of different factors. But many would argue that the slave trade played a big role on that later on. Also, you're going to see racism become more entrenched into slavery than it already is. And you start to see that with this decision right here, which is the condition of the child follows that of the mother. And so this also gives free reign to slave masters to basically rape enslaved black women and not have to worry about if the baby that comes from that encounter will be free or enslaved, because according to this law now, they will automatically be slaves for life. Yes, Jalen.
When you said that they were breeding them, I don't know if I missed it or not, but you said anything about how like they would make the strongest man and the strongest woman like mate or something, and then the child would be like strong too or something like that?
Yeah, that tended to happen. They would pick their best enslaved peoples on the plantation. They would in some cases force them to procreate. Absolutely, that did happen. It was a very brutal system, a very horrible way to live. And so not only did you as a woman have no protection, but in addition to that, you could carry a child for 9 months and then be sold away from that child at any given time. So it definitely was a horrible form of existence. Yes, it is pretty disgusting. Slave owners started African Americans to have colorism. Yes, because then what comes out of that is this sort of distinction between house slaves, right, and field slaves, right? So enslaved peoples then start to be divided, typically if you worked in the home and internalized racism. Absolutely. So if you worked in the home, you tended to be lighter. And if you worked in, somebody blocked them. If you worked in the home, you tended to be lighter. And if you worked in the field, you tended to be darker. And this is where many would say a lot of those divisions began. And so also it's very interesting around this terminology of blackness that emerges later on, where a lot of times we exclude certain people from this concept of blackness because they look a certain way. But a lot of these terminologies and the ideology of light skin versus dark skin, this is where we're going to see a lot of that stuff start to materialize. Okay, do we have any other questions about the House of Burgess? What you guys really need to know, social hierarchy, absolutely, absolutely. So what you guys really need to know is that the first Africans that were brought or human trafficked into to English colonies came in 1619. Africans were already here before then. And then the House of Burgess in 1662 kind of changes this idea that Black people can be indentured servants, and now they are enslaved for life. And not only that, but that is also bestowed upon the unborn child. So if your mother is enslaved, then your child automatically, when you have it, is going to be enslaved. Yes, oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. John Punch. So let's talk about this John Punch. So the way that I explained this case is, and it really sounds like a horrible bar joke, but it's the case of a Dutch, a Scot, and John Punch. So essentially, John Punch and two other European men were indentured servants. And I guess they were like, one day they were like working, and then one of them was like, hey, yo, bro, I'm sick of this, so we should just leave. And then the other one was like, leave? Where we gonna go? And then the other one was like, I don't know, like, let's just run away. And so they were like, all right, let's do it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah. So they ran away. So this is for all those who are unfamiliar with this story. So they proceeded to run away. Hey, yo, bro. I mean, that's what they said. It's actually fact. Look it up. No, it's not. But so they ran away. All is well, but then they got caught and they were brought back. And so the two European indentured servants were, I think they were sentenced to jail for 6 months. Ms. Williams, double check me on that. And then poor old John Punch, well, they were like, bro, you are enslaved for life. And so this is where this distinction starts as well. And also, I think it's important to relate this back to when you think about the prison industrial complex and the criminal justice system. some of the students at my school had to read the book Just Mercy, and they were able to make connections between the book Just Mercy and this story, because they were like, whoa, that sounds like exactly, Tiff, right, horrible and unjust. Yeah, but it sounds like exactly what happens in a lot of cases today. And they actually have a movie for Just Mercy. He didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. Yeah, but because of the color of his skin, it was determined that he would have a harsher sentence. Yeah, well, some prisoners do, but some don't. If you guys have not read the book Just Mercy, you should, because there are a lot of people that are locked up for no reason. The law system, in some ways, on Dred Scott. Yeah, okay, so let's get to Dred Scott. But yeah, it's important to try to make those connections. If you guys have not read the book Just Mercy, I strongly, strongly, strongly suggest you read the book. It gives a lot of information about the criminal justice system and how many times it's unfair to people of color. And some people may be arrested for the same crime, but if they look a certain way, then they get less time or they get more time. Well, we have time now. Yes, we do. Yes, we do have time. The double standard, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about Dred Scott. I really need to stop writing like this because now I'm like out of space. I'm gonna move this over. I'll put this back up later. Okay, so what can you guys tell me about Dred Scott? Anthony? All right, go ahead, Ant. What you got for me?
All right, so I know that Dred Scott, he was African American who tried to sue for his freedom, but it didn't work out well.
Okay. And then why? Okay, wait, let me just double check and see if we have anybody else that has their hand up. Okay, Rukaya, and then Irma, and then James.
What I heard is Dred Scott, master came to a free territory with him and he died there. And so he was like, well, since he's dead, I should be free because I'm on free territory. But the Supreme Court said, nah, you're not free because you're still, his son now owns you. So it just goes passed down. So it doesn't matter. So he lost.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay, so this case is really important. Wait. Actually, let me let other people go before I get into it. Good job, Rukaya. Irma, and then James.
Didn't he also try to sue for the freedom for his family as well, like his wife and his 2 daughters?
Oh, somebody beat me to it. I believe they were included as well. I do know that they ended up getting their freedom after this case, but the Supreme Court case had a huge effect on a lot of different things. And so, wait, let me see. Hold on 1 second. James, you wanted to go before I jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say the reason why Dred Scott was ruled in that way, even though it was pretty unpopular in the North as well, was because the Supreme Court was very dominated by Southerners at the time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so when we're talking about Dred Scott, okay, so he was enslaved. His master took him to free states And basically the assumption was once you spent enough time in a free state, you become free. For instance, in Pennsylvania, once Pennsylvania was able to pass some abolitionist laws, which they began shortly after the American Revolution, some of the earliest in the United States. So once they, in Pennsylvania, it was after a couple months of someone living in Pennsylvania as an enslaved person, they could declare their freedom. So here's a little fun fact. The way that our presidents who owned slaves and who lived in the White House that was temporarily here in Philadelphia would get around it is they would swap out their enslaved peoples every couple of months. And then if they couldn't swap them out by sending for the other enslaved peoples that they owned in their plantations where they actually lived, then what they would do is take their enslaved peoples across the border to another state. And that would restart those couple of months, which is like, it's literally mind-blowing the lengths that people would go to in order to kind of continue on with their enslaving of people. So he goes to a free state, and then he's brought back to a slave state. And when he gets there, he's like, wait a minute, his master does pass away. Consider, yes, Kathleen, and we're about to talk about that in 2 seconds. Get it, girl, you are absolutely right. So when he gets back to the slave state, he's like, oh my goodness, I think I'm free, or at least I should be. So he sues. And what ensues is probably one of the worst Supreme Court case rulings to ever have happened. So essentially, oh, that's another compromise early. So essentially what happens is that they are, is 3/5, yeah. 3/5 a person, yep. Okay, so essentially what happens is that Judge Taney rules that not only would they not free him, but he goes further and says, you know what? Honestly, Miss Ringer, I know I'm turning it off. I will give myself detention. Okay. Yes, Ona did, and that's a good book too if you guys never caught. So anyway, so Judge Taney then says, you know what? Not only are you not going to get your freedom, you shouldn't even be in my court because you're not even a citizen. Not only are you not a citizen, but when the United States was created and we did our Constitution, you weren't a citizen. So anyone that is descended of Africans who were brought to the US, you're not a citizen. And exactly, yeah, it's horrible. They really said all that, probably not in the manner that I said it, but if you guys look up the Taney decision, you can read the full thing. But yes, that's essentially what happens. Pretty close to it, yeah. And so this was considered egregious. Now, the abolitionists at the time, they was like, I know they did not just do that. So they also got really mad. And so this is one of the, you guys keep going to oop. This is one of the things that, remember that snowball that I was telling you guys about? So by this time, the snowball is massive and the avalanche is about to start. And that avalanche is going to be, anybody want to take a guess? Let's see who can type it first. Yes. Oh, you guys check the comments. Miss Williams added something extra on there too. Not the Civil War. So it's not the Civil War, but what happens right before the Civil War? No, it's not a war. Nope. It was the election. So what eventually causes the avalanche to start is the election. The election of who? Come on, folks. Yes, 2 points to Colin. Yes, Abraham Lincoln. Absolutely fruitily. Yes, yes. Okay, so before we go into the election of Lincoln and the Civil War, I do want to just give a little bit of space and time, if you guys will allow, for the just to like give you guys a little bit of background on the abolitionist movement. And so let's zero in on Philadelphia. Can anybody tell me when the American Anti-Slavery Society started? Let's see who we get. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a few more seconds to try to chime in. American Anti-Slavery Society. Totally didn't Google it. Okay, good job. Okay, so I'm going to put, as soon as I find a link to it, I want to, let me see if I can put this link in here. I'm trying to find the resource in my Google Docs. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share a, you don't have to look at it if you don't want to, but I'm just going to share it with you. Yes. Totally didn't Google it. Okay. So you guys don't have to read it or do anything, but this gives like a lot of background. And I know that Ms. Williams has some things that she can also share as well. So she can be able to give you guys some more information about that. And you can, again, this is just a resource. So don't feel like you need to take notes or anything like that. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can all pull this up, but what I'm going to do is, as soon as I find the, here we go. I'm going to present to you guys. So if you can't see it, you'll be able to see it. So give me 1 second to do that. Franklin, cut it out. He said go follow me. Okay, present now. You guys gotta forgive me. I'm trying to like figure this all out as we go along. So don't judge me for being a little slow. Okay. So I think you guys can share it now. I mean, you can see it now. Did I do the right one? Whoops. Okay. All right, found it, and then present. So if you guys have never heard of James Horton, you should. So even though William Lloyd Garrison, who also wrote The Liberator, started the American Anti-Slavery Society, it's really important that you know that it was founded in the home of somebody by the name of James Horton. So when we talk about abolitionism and we talk about abolishing slavery, it's really important that we give flowers to the not only just the white abolitionists who were allies, but also the Black abolitionists who were quite wealthy and they lived in the North. And honestly, they really didn't have to do what they did, but they felt compelled as a sense of community to help their brothers and sisters who were in bondage. And so James Horton's home is actually down near, Siraj, I need you to stop. I'm sorry. So James Horton, his home is actually down near, oh my goodness, Society Hill. And he was a wealthy cellmaker. He actually was one of the few Philadelphians at the time to own his own home. And the American Anti-Slavery Society was organized in his house. And so when we talk about the AASS, or Oz, as I like to call it, it's really important that we give our flowers to those who, it's really important that we give our flowers to the Black abolitionists that helped. Yes. Bell ring. You guys better not start packing up. Yes, he did. And so the American abolitionist movement is really important. And it's one of the things that helps to propel us to where we end up, which is at the Civil War. And there's so much to be said about the abolitionist movement. Even if, you know, from Harriet Tubman's efforts, a lot of people just think of Harriet as someone who freed people, but she was so much more than that. And she helped in the military. I call her General Tubman. She was a spy. She was a nurse. So she's not just some lady who got hit in the head with a brick and then was helping people make it to the North. She was amazing. And so were all the other abolitionists. Charlotte Douglas Mapp. There's so many, so many. And a lot of them were right here in Philadelphia. So that's the other thing that we don't talk about. Philly was a hotbed for abolitionist movement. And if you were to ever take a walking tour in Germantown or downtown, you would find so many different tidbits of information. So all of that chugging. It's a good thing I took history of Philadelphia. Yes, Tiffany. So chugging, boom. We're going to lead to the Civil War. But before we do that, we are going to talk a little bit about Lincoln. And so the next time we meet, which we will be, Trail of Tears. And, you know, we do need to include some indigenous history in this. So I will be talking about what's going on in like some indigenous peoples during the same time, especially post-Civil War. James has a hand. Okay, go ahead, James. We're going to be late to bell ring. Okay, no, just hold on 1 second.
If we're talking about Lincoln, like in a couple minutes or tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. Well, we will be in touch. We, us teachers just need to regroup, just to make sure that we're good and we're doing things in a way that is okay by the district. So we will definitely reach out to you guys.
But if any of you guys have Netflix, I know we all got more time on our hands now. I would recommend Lincoln by Steven Spielberg. It's a pretty good, it's a little bit dramatized, obviously, but I think it's pretty accurate, and it's also just a good film in general.
Yeah, we have.
Yes, and the burning of Pennsylvania Hall. Yes. Oh my God, it's going to be 1 o'clock if we keep going. But yes, so the abolitionists in Pennsylvania, they put their money together. They built this big building for abolitionists to go and chill and have some tea and decide how we're going to get free. And they opened the building and to freedom. Yes, they opened the building and they opened the building and they were partying and having fun. And they had like a 3-day celebration. And then on the 3rd day, they burned it down to the ground. So yes, yes, absolutely. No, Cam, we really can't. Yeah. We unfortunately we don't have too much to offer you guys. So that's a good question, Kathleen. Some I know, Cam, hopefully we'll have something to be able to tell you guys once the district sends out an updated email. So just like hold tight. We'll be able to reach out to you guys. That's right. That's right. There you go. What Miss Williams said. So some abolitionists believed that Black people should be equal and believe that, you know, once they got their freedom, they should be fully integrated into society. Some abolitionists did not. Some abolitionists felt like, okay, now I said I didn't really like slavery and I want to end it, but I don't really think the Blacks are equal to us. Yes, I will give you a late note, Irma. I will give you a late note. So yeah, there were different types of abolitionists. And when we talk a little bit about Lincoln, we'll get into Lincoln, the complicated figure. Was he an emancipator? Was he an opportunist? We shall see. I have lunch next. Me too. Yes, I think we all need to eat after this. So look out for Lincoln was weird. Yes, and then physical education. That's right, Ms. Williams. I gotta go wash my clothes. That's the beauty of having an online resource, right? You can do it from your own home and then do laundry. I have AP lunch. That must be the best type of lunch. I'm sure it's like steak and potatoes. All right, guys. So me and the whites and the colored. Franklin! Oh my God. Wow. And on that note, okay. Yes, you didn't realize that, huh? All right. So on that note, yes, okay. I know, Franklin, I know you were, but it was just kind of ironic that you say that and given what we're talking about. Yeah, they're gonna graduate online. Ugh, that's horrible. All right, guys, it's so good to see you. I hope you guys are well. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. Please be safe. Continue to practice physical distancing. I love all of you, and thank you so much for rocking out in all of this uncertainty. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Oh, thank you, Franklin. No, you guys are the best. And also shout out to Miss Williams. All right, bye guys.